So a few weeks ago, I was working with a med spa in Texas that was doing okay, around $12,000 to $15,000 per month. Then practically overnight, they jumped to $40,000. They didn't change the pricing, they didn't add new services, and they most certainly didn't increase their team either. So what happens? There's one shift that we made, and this video is about that. At this point, I've worked with over 60 med spas, managed over $10 million in ad spend, and generated thousands of high-ticket patient appointments. I'm the co-founder of medspapatients.com. And one thing that we see over and over again is that most med spas misunderstand social media. They either think Facebook leads are trash, that only Google ads work, or referrals and recommendations, or they tried social media ads and the leads did not show up. They didn't show up, they didn't book. When they booked, they didn't pay deposits. And when if they showed up, they didn't buy high ticket care plans, right? So in other words, they're bad leads, unqualified, not high intent. Now, to be fair, if anyone says that that's not true, they're wrong. They have a interest there because that is partially true. Not all leads will be perfect, and that's okay. But that's exactly why most owners get it wrong. Why social media advertising works if you do it right. A lot of med spas compare social media ads to Google ads. They think Google is high intent, it's ready to buy customers. They definitely need the services because they're looking for them actively. And yes, that is 100% true. Facebook and Instagram, by contrast, is looked at as a random low quality lead source. But the reality of it is that at the end of the day, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You wouldn't be watching this video if Google was the holy grail, the be all end all of scaling, because Google ads are capped. There's so many people searching for your services each month, and that's it. No more, no less. Social media, on the other hand, is what gives you scale. So if you want to scale to six figures, if you want to scale to multi-seven-figure yearly revenue, social media is undeniable. Okay, it's proven and it works, and I want to show you why that's the case. The key here is knowing how to turn volume into profitability, and I wanted to bear this in mind for the rest of this video: the buyer's pyramid. The understanding that fundamentally in the market, top 3% of the market is basically ready to buy. It's ripe and ready. The rest of them are kind of open for buying, about 7% of them. And as you can see, the bulk of it is not even thinking about it. They're actively against it or just completely not interested. Okay. And you can see why at any point when you're starting to want to scale, this will immediately rear its nasty head and show you where your limitations really are. This pyramid, very interestingly, is almost like a fractal. This behavior actually happens inside behaviors. So what I mean by that is you could be looking into the market and see how many people are actually interested in your services right now, in your highest ticket treatment plans in your med spa, and you would be seeing this kind of behavior. Now, when people submit any sort of intent, when they become interested in your med spa, even among them, you will notice the same distribution again. 3% of them are the ones that are calling in, ready to buy, cash in hand, shut up and take my money kind of behavior. And the rest of them will mimic this exact same behavior. And each of these levels has to be treated with a different level of care and attention. These ones have to basically, you basically just have to make sure you don't mess it up by asking too many questions, by deterring them from actually coming in and giving them a pleasant experience, a calendar to book in, a payment processor that works. With these ones, you have to actually understand their objections. You have to give them a bit of trust, conviction. And with these ones, you have to call them, you have to follow up with them. So there's different behaviors inside this pyramid. So bear that in mind for the rest of this video as well. Okay, back to the biggest mistake that med spa owners make with marketing. Most med spa owners expect every lead to be high intent, ready to buy immediately. And that's just not how marketing works. Like I said, not all leads are meant to be great, and that's why it's okay. When you look at the numbers on the spreadsheet, volume is just as important as quality, because your goal isn't to get perfect leads, it's to get enough leads at a low enough cost so that filtering out the bad ones still results in profitable new patients. And this is where social media ads shine. But too many business owners write them off because they compare them to Google Ads as if it's a binary choice, if it's one or the other, and it's not. It's both of them. Google Ads bring high intent leads. These people are already searching for treatments, which means they're more likely to book. By the way, SEO organic fits into the same category. People who look you up, who find you in Google My Business or on Google Maps, high intent leads, 100% definitely be there. Capitalize on that. Otherwise, you're leaving money on the table. But the problem is there's only so much search volume. You cannot scale beyond the number of people actively looking for your services. And social media, on the other hand, is what creates demand, like we've already established. It introduces people to treatments they weren't actively searching for, but would be interested in if positioned correctly. The beauty of it is that that's the one that gives you unlimited scale. But it also means you have to accept that not every lead will be perfect. And we'll put this into context. Let's look at some numbers real quick. Again, just bear in mind the mistake isn't running social media ads, it's expecting them to perform like Google ads. And so the two things that make or break your social media ads, if you want social media ads to work for your med spa, you need to get two things right. Brand positioning is the number one, which is the qualitative aspect of your advertising. Your brands need to appeal to the type of customer that you want. What do I mean by that? It's really about how it looks. It's the visuals. The med spa space is something that we basically joined because we want to aspire to be a premium med spa. We want to be luxurious, right? Well, most business owners, if you ask them, they will say, yes, I want to work with affluent people, solve rich people's problems. And so because of that, just bear in mind that affluent clients don't buy treatments, they buy an experience. If your marketing looks cheap, you'll attract price sensitive buyers. If it looks premium, you'll attract premium buyers. If you change nothing else to how your campaigns are running, so let's not even talk about targeting criteria, zip codes, income, filtering, surveys, landing pages, none of the technicalities. If we just look at the way your ads are actually looking, that in itself is enough to dramatically and drastically change the trajectory of your marketing. That is branding for you, okay? And I want to show you an example. Someone who does it extremely good, an Instagram account that's really nailing, in my opinion, their branding. Cryo company, the way they portray themselves, a combination of videos, of images, it really looks on point. It really looks the part. I look at these guys with admiration and inspiration because I generally like the graphic feel of their ads, the fact that they don't just use images, they use videos. It's not just a standard cookie cutter approach, but also the actual copy, the headlines, the hooks, the psychology behind it, which I'll dive into in a second. This is the second realm that you want to address, which is the performance. And I'll get to that in a second. Now, contrast that with a med spa that runs generic stock photos and low budget designs. They're signaling to the market that they're low cost. On the other hand, a well-produced video and featuring a clean, modern aesthetic testimonial from high-end clients and messaging that speaks to results rather than discounts will attract a different type of customer. Simple as that. So here's an example of what I think would be not ideal. I do have a caveat to this. We don't want to look at these things very black and white because there is a room and there is a time and place for these kinds of ads. And I'm not talking about the graphic. The graphic aspect of these, I think, is, for a lack of better words, atrocious. It can be done much better. But there is a point in offering some sort of incentive to buy, some sort of special price, like a new introductory. And that falls into the next realm. Let's talk about that right now. For years, my primary focus was hacking the algorithm. I've run ads for big companies, for large consumer brands, global companies, over $10 million ad spend in all social media platforms. The whole idea of it was to lower the cost per lead as much as possible and drive volume. Or the idea basically was to generate as many leads as possible and filter out the ones who aren't serious. And that absolutely works. Don't get me wrong. If you play nothing but a numbers game, if your cost to show your ads to 1,000 people goes down to as close to zero as possible, which obviously is never going to be, and then your click-through rate goes up to as high as possible, which honestly 1% is a standard, 3 to 5 we're talking stellar cowboy stuff. When you're talking about those kinds of numbers, the leads are just pouring in. But most med spa owners don't see it this way because they look at that and assume that every lead should be qualified, which leads to frustration when some don't convert. If we took a step back and look at them as numbers on the spreadsheet, we would realize that we can disqualify 80-70% of them. And the ones that we're left over with, they're still worth capitalizing on. The juice is still worth the squeeze. So let's look at some of the considerations that make this performance marketing perform really, really valid, right? One of them is the actual videos. Look at these videos. They're running very simple hooks. The best gift you can give yourself, take care of you. Ever wondered what cryosleeping can do for your body? The fact that it's a video is also in its own right a super important aspect of it. We're living in the era of short form content, guys. It's no longer enough to just slap a bunch of images, stock footage, and hope that that's going to differentiate you because everyone else has to do that as well. And the reality of it is if there's no barrier of entry, everyone's going to do it. It's super simple to grab your phone and record a few videos, but still there's a large number of business owners who don't do it. And the moment you're willing to show and show, don't tell, basically, this is what my spa looks like. This is what my service provider looks like. Or maybe this is me. I will be your service provider. This creates alignment. It creates alignment and uniqueness. It creates your voice. Not to mention the benefits of owning your videos, owning your creative when it comes to potentially competitors trying to steal your stuff. This happens all the time. marketing agencies running other marketing agencies' images and videos and whatnot with your proprietary content, well, that's never going to happen, is it? Now, let's dive into the number. Let's dive into the actual science behind it, the psychology. There are 5 stages of awareness, and this is something that gets constantly neglected. Whenever you see an ad start, runs well for a while, and then it dies down, which we hear all the time when we speak to med spa owners, it's because it basically doesn't respect the fact that there are people in 5 stages of awareness. First of all, they're unaware that they have a problem. Let's zoom in so we can see that a bit better. They're not aware that they have a problem or that they have a desire. They suddenly become aware of their problem, meaning now I realize I have to lose some pounds. I don't know there's a solution yet. Then I do know that there's a solution. Well, there's dieting, there's exercise, there's all these cryo devices, there's these body contouring devices, there's weight loss medication, semaglutide, tirzepatide. Now I know solutions. Question is, who do I go for? Who's the product that's going to solve my issue? Is it the med spa is the med spa on the left side of the street, or is the one on the right side of the street, or is the one right in front of me? Right? There's so many products. There's so many different brands that are promising similar things, and when they all do and make similar promises, really the market becomes most aware. This is where they know they have a problem. They know what the solution is. They know that there's products, there's companies that can solve it, but they haven't really decided yet which, and haven't gotten around to. Super important to bear in mind that at this point and at each of these points, you want to speak to your market differently. And this is what these guys do very beautifully. This is a very unaware, and this is quite unaware as well. It's getting a bit more sort of problem because it's hinting at the problem with the fact that there's a lady that obviously could lose a bit of weight there, arguably. Depends on what everyone wishes to achieve. Maybe she's treating some pain. It could work for pain management as well. I'll get to that in a second, actually. But what's interesting to notice here is that to someone who's unaware, you're not going to be able to say, hey, lose some weight with my machine, because they don't know that they need to lose some weight, right? And so, or someone who has pain and they don't realize that that pain is actually something that, first of all, is not normal, and second, it can be treated. And so the best gift that you can give to yourself, taking care of you. This is a very good hook to go into the very open market. Remember how I was showing you that pyramid of buyer intent? There's also a pyramid of awareness, and the reality of it is that most people are in the unaware state, and this kind of like narrows and dilutes as you get towards the most aware. So it goes without saying that when you talk about scale, when you talk about scaling your campaigns and your med spa, you have to honor all of these stages. Now, in the most aware stage is where oftentimes med spas have to compete on price. That's where introductory discounts and special offers make sense. But even there, with a good video in reality, you can actually differentiate just on how you look, on how your brand sounds. That is the brand side of things. And that's basically bringing this whole point home. Here's more videos. Here's more examples. Here's why 99 people can't seem to lose weight. This is speaking into the problem. Here's one that says when a client asks for cryo, if cryo helps with pain or reduces fat, that's a problem. Hook, right? Does it help with pain, or does it do fat, or does it do both? Let's see the numbers. Now let's break down the numbers. So like I was saying, let's say you generate 100 leads for $500. That's about $5 per lead. Exactly $5 per lead. If 10 of these leads turn into paying customers, your customer acquisition cost is $50 per client, right? 90 of them are duds. We'll go rid of them. The remaining 10 are still $50 per client. That is a really good cost of acquisition, especially if those clients come in, buy a 2K treatment plan, and then basically we're generating 200K revenue from 500 ad spend. Would you say that those are bad leads when you take a step back? On a day by day, you would, because you're looking at the 90 that you have to call and the ones that don't pick up or the ones that argue about deposits. And it's easy to not see the forest for the trees at that point. If this is taken care of for you with a right triage and with a system that only allows you to speak to these 10, at the end of the day, you'll draw the line and you'll be happy with that result, hopefully. Now let's compare that to what most med spas do. They spend the same $500 on branding and get zero trackable ROI. They invest in expensive SEO, waiting months for results, or they rely solely on Google Ads, competing for a tiny pool of high-intent searchers, which sounds like the better bet when we're talking about scaling to 6 figures, multi-6 figures per month, and multi-7 figures per year. The catch is that if you look cheap, you'll attract cheap customers. And this is why brand position matters just as much as ad performance. This really is brand performance, a term I learned in big corporate talk. Think Bacardi, Bombay, LinkedIn, Snapchat, your everyday brands, okay? This is brand performance. It's what separates med spas that struggle with social media ads from those that scale rapidly. And what about discounts? Like I was saying, a lot of med spa owners also think offering deals will hurt their brand, but the truth is, even wealthy people love a good deal. If the Hilton ran a promotion and dropped its prices by 50%, high-income travelers wouldn't suddenly book a cheap motel, right? They'd see it as a great experience and opportunity at a luxury stay at a better price. Again, it's a question of who perceives the value through their own, through their own scale of what is valuable to them. I will cherish a 50% discount on a brand that I love, just like someone who is shopping for price would cherish it at a lower level. So again, it's not a binary way to look at it. So instead of discounting a standard treatment, you can bundle it with a premium add-on to increase perceived value. That's essentially saying that instead of dropping the price, you can just add more value, add more services, add a neck cross sell to a PRP facial, add a cannula under the eye rejuvenation instead of dropping the price. Add more units of tox in areas where you normally wouldn't, maybe crow's feet with glabella and 11s and the lip flip. So these are kind of ways to like add value. When it comes to contouring, we could add a skin tightening session or a cavitation and a massage or a 3D DEXA body scan. Just ways to increase the value. That's basically the challenger's sale, where instead of dropping the price, we increase the value. Now, here's the real reason why this med spa scaled to 40K. What did we actually change for them? We optimized the social media ads by refining the brand position and creative strategy, which is all I've covered when we were looking at those videos, at the hooks, at the headlines, at what the videos look like. Instead of running generic ads with stock photos, we helped them create a well-produced video explaining their signature treatment in a way that felt premium. Messaging that spoke to the outcomes and lifestyle benefits rather than just the price. So again, go back from the most aware, where we just discount, to solution, problem, product, okay? A lead follow-up system that filtered out non-serious inquiries while nurturing high-intent prospects. Remember, it's not enough to just add to run ads. The winning med spas are running an entire back-end system that you're probably not seeing, and we installed that. And the result was that the revenue more than doubled in days. And so if you want to see exactly how we did it, I actually put together a quick breakdown of the exact ads, messaging, and follow-up process that we used. We at the moment are only keeping it for a limited serious med spa owners. So if you want it, click on the link in the bio. The link may change, but it's going to be in the bio 100%. Put your details in there and I'll get you instant access. I hope to dive into the details and to nerd over all these, beautiful multidisciplinary areas such as graphic and creative, copywriting, psychology of sales and persuasion, marketing. All of these things blend together into well-crafted funnels that we have proven now in over 20 states with over 60 med spas. And we look forward to partner with a couple more very serious med spas, scale to 7 figures. We keep things very tight here, anywhere between 10 and 15 med spas at any point. Everything is done in-house. You would have me in your account day after day. I have personally booked thousands of appointments at this point, spoken to thousands of prospects of your ideal customers, and generated millions of leads, spent millions in ads. And that's the expertise that we put to the table in a very tight-knit in-house team for your service and for your scaling. So I hope this has been useful. Stick with us. And until next time, thank you.